Kia ora koutou. I'm Sean Davis, an Enterprise Advisor at Venture Taranaki, and you're joining us for another Ahead of the Curve webinar brought to you by Venture Taranaki in partnership with the Regional Business Partners Network. As we move to somewhat business normality, we continue to support enterprises through the impact of COVID-19. Whether you're needing a hand getting back to your feet or you're back to business as usual and looking to grow, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us through our website at business.taranaki.info. Today we have Tom Schurr, the principal from Schurr Island and newly formed enterprise Woke Traders, joining to give us insight on how energy, not time, is your and your business's greatest asset. Before we jump into the webinar, here's a couple of housekeeping stuff. So if you can just look at the bottom panel of your screen and you see a chat box, if you can click on that and you can write in your name and which business you're from. And then also just to the left of that is a Q&A tab. If you hit that, that's where you can ask all questions and we'll get to those at the end with Tom. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate the opportunity to come talk to the Venture Taranaki audience and what is quite an interesting and changing time for us. And I guess as we move from the COVID response into the recovery period and then just into that different phase that we're in. And I guess that coincides with the release of the 6-month data from the business survey yesterday, which I thought was very interesting. I just thought I'd highlight a couple of things for those that weren't on the call yesterday. But the survey results showed that, about a third of us were thinking that things would improve over the next 6 to 12 months. 51.2% thought things might deteriorate over the next period. 10% weren't sure. That would probably be where I sit in that bucket. And only about 9.2% of attendees thought things would remain the same. So to me, I guess that shows about 90% of us know that the business environment's going to change in one way or the other, and that we need to be ready to combat and take on that change and make it a positive experience for us and our businesses. But also 39.2% of people were worried and stressed and feeling anxiety around their personal situation and their business performance, which is a real concern. And then also importantly, 38% of people feel that since we've been, released out into the world after lockdown, 38% feel that we're playing catch up. And I guess tying into the idea of today's webinar is you can't keep that going forever. And we're starting to see, at least at a personal level, that's catching up with people. So today, I think you've made it on this call, and it's a really good time just to sit back, take stock, see where you're at, and really work on some strategies to help yourself and your business through this next phase. So with that, I'll get into the presentation for today. So again, I'm here to talk to you about the concept of building your biobattery, and that your personal energy through this time is mirrored in your business performance. The two are actually not distinct, separate entities. They're actually very interrelated. So the ability of yourself to work on yourself and your personal energy is really going to help you carry you through in your business through this period of uncertainty and change. And I always kick off with a thought of the day. And today's one is from Tony Schwartz, who runs a large corporate coaching business over in the States and a very good author. And he's just saying the number of hours in a day is fixed, but the quantity and quality of the energy available to us is not. So I guess it's where are we focusing our time through this period? Are we looking at managing the time more and more? Are we sort of scheduling tasks and activities, or are we actually looking at ourselves and our business and going, well, how can we generate more energy to actually influence the environment around us? Because no one's been able to, in the history of humankind, invent more time, but I'm sure we've all felt the difference when our personal energy is on point and what we can actually get through in a day, and actually our ability to cope with what comes at us as well. So the learning outcomes for today, by the end of this, I just hope you can understand the difference between managing your energy and time and what that's going to have for the results, your personal and your business results. Learn how to identify your 4 primary energy buckets and what's feeding into them. And then also what's draining your personal and your business bio batteries and how to recharge them. There'll be an opportunity to learn a little bit more as well, and hopefully time for questions and answers. Sean will keep me on time as we go through there. But my aim really is just to give you awareness of where you're sitting and help you and your business self-correct through this time and through managing your energy. Most of you will know what those next steps are, but it's more about stepping out, observing, and then charting that plan of attack. So first, if we're going to talk about energy, it pays to define what energy actually is and what it means. So in physics, it's the capacity to do work, and that's your battery. How big is it, and what's the level of charge that it carries? In biology, it's the ability to maintain order in any given system, or homeostasis. But I guess secondly and importantly in this period, what we've been asked for isn't just to maintain order, but to evolve, to evolve our businesses. So that's actually requiring a supra level of energy from us and our batteries at this time to get onto that new potential for our business to see the opportunity and change. And then more importantly, I guess, is just a question for the listeners, is just to go, what is your own definition of energy? What's your relationship with it? Are you aware of your energy? Where are you sourcing your energy from? And I guess importantly too, what are you giving your energy to, or where are you bleeding your energy out that you don't want to? Because I guess many of us are probably in these times too, found ourselves, myself included, stuck in that old paradigm of going, wishing we had more time, definitely feeling that to get through the tasks and demands that have been laid on us. And then also too, when confronted with things, is saying, I just don't have the energy for that. So when you catch yourself in that environment, just say, well, how can we actually influence? What can we influence? Time's a finite commodity. So what should we focus on, our energy or our time, to get the biggest ROI in terms of return on investment right now for investment to actually influence results? So a quick question, just what is the single biggest killer of productivity? The answer is fatigue, or a drained battery. And I guess at the personal level, the number one thing that people go to see a doctor or a GP about is a feeling of fatigue or tiredness. Yet this commodity is basically a commodity of energy. And generally, we've got the ability to manage this through lifestyle factors on our own. And I guess fatigue over time leads to a series of symptoms and signs, which I'm going to highlight and give an awareness to. And the earlier we can catch these and work with them, the better our level of energy will be. And I guess in a business and personally, this is seen as inflammation, how it manifests. In the person, it may be stress, anxiety. And in the business, I guess the chief form of energy, I used to call it oxygen, but the chief form of energy is cash and cash flow. And that's what you really got to preserve and work with and maximize through this period to not only ensure survival, but also thriving through this period and being able to do whether you need to pivot with your sales program, launch new campaigns, etc. But having the cash or the energy in your business is going to be essential. And when you're seeing a lack of that, it's probably where the system is lacking energy and losing order, the ability to maintain itself. Now, the science is pretty clear as well that time is a limited resource, but energy is renewable. And that we as humans, even though we feel solid and touch and the things we touch, 99.9999% of us is just energy in space, like that quantum atom. And only the 1%, 0.00001% is the matter, yet we focus so much time on the matter and what we can see and touch, but really it's the energy that is our biggest part of us and the biggest influence on what we can do to charge and create results. So the way that I look at it is we have a choice as leaders, and leaders doesn't mean you need to be wearing that CEO hat, whatever that means, Chief Executive Officer. Normally that's just the guy that people try avoid or don't like. But it's as leaders, of ourselves, in our family unit, in our work, and anyone and everyone is a leader. But as a CEO, you're all tasked with that. And the way I define it is the Chief Energy Officer of yourselves and your company. And I guess the easiest way to sort of understand that is it's the front door test, not only when you're going to work in the morning, checking in what's your energy before you walk in that door, but also once you're in the door, you can feel the collective energy of the business, because an organization is just a collective bunch of organisms, of people. So you can feel that collective energy. And really, we should be auditing that as much as our bank balance to see what needs to change, how are we going. It's like the business barometer. And then also too, I guess, when you leave home at the end of the day as well, a great time to check in your energy as well, because when you get home, how are you, that front door test as well, when you walk in the front door, what's your energy like? And then also what's the energy like of the family, and how can we influence or help each other? Because like the atom, I guess it's the unseen, unweighable, unmeasurable items or elements, but we can feel them. They're influencing what we can see and visualize, what we can weigh and measure. So just make sure that you are approaching this as the Chief Energy Officer. Now to the 4 energy buckets, and I'm sure many of you would have heard these before: physical, mental, emotional. It used to be called spiritual, creative, bit of a sort of a wishy-washy word, but it's more the definitions that I've come across that really help us understand what is driving your energy and how you can influence it. So when you look at the physical, that is probably your number one driver of energy production, and also of draining your battery, either through overtraining, undertraining, what you're eating, how you're sort of sleeping, how you're looking after the physical body. And that really has a massive ability to influence the energy production, and also the size of the battery over time that you have. Emotional governs the quality of your energy. And I guess we've all had that experience where we'd be having a great day, things are really flowing, and then you get that one phone call or something happens out at home outside of your control, or even to a colleague, that completely changes that energy, that quality of energy, and your ability to focus. So just one to really check in on, and I'll go into more ways to check in on that later on. Mental, in that mental bucket, is the ability to focus, that ability to like laser in on what you're wanting to achieve and do, rather than being in this day and age being pulled all over the show. The ability to focus in and get through what you want to get through in a day. And then creative, I just call that where you source your inspiration from. Now, that could be, you could be having your job, maybe your vocation as well, and so the two are perfectly aligned. But if not, outside of work, it's just whatever makes you feel whole, making sure that you're tapping into that, whatever creative outlet that is, whether it's just catching up with friends, whether it's just, photography, just getting back into nature. But it just makes you feel whole and alive, so you can bring your whole self back to work when you come into work as well, because we feed off each other, and each of these buckets do feed off each other. And I guess too, looking at the plus and the minuses, they've all got the ability to not only charge our batteries if they're managed well, but also drained, and they sort of all feed in. And at any given time, different buckets may have different priorities. I know through COVID and lockdown for myself, the mental, emotional, and the creative were very highly challenged in terms of migrating our business to online, making sure our team were fine, making sure our clients and customers were okay, and then just changing the way that we delivered services, programs, communicated, how we met with our team. So it was a really, I guess, draining, but also challenging. I enjoyed the creative challenge. That was actually filling my energy, but in terms of the mental, emotional, it was a high drainer. So that just meant that the physical element had to change, and I really backed that right off, and I still have kept that off with basically just going back to walking instead of, intensive exercise or whatever that was actually going to be a net drainer through that period. Normally it would add to, but it's a balancing act, and I guess we can all check in at any time with how they're affecting us. So onto the battery. I guess there's a lot of content on this, but we will make the slides available afterwards just so you can check in. But I guess with the battery, it's really about, and this is the personal one, a business one will come next, but it's about what is the quality and quantity of your energy, and just trying to catch the signs and symptoms, which aren't always visible, as early as possible as you move, like as you're in that central battery down the middle, as you move through there, trying to catch what stage you're at as the signs or symptoms pop up so you can then manage them as best as possible. I guess when you're doing a self-evaluation, which I think everyone should do looking at those, is just to go, well, where are you on that scale of how much charge in your battery? And I guess most people default to a 7 out of 10. And when I'm coaching, I will not allow people to choose a 7 out of 10. Right? And if I ask you to say, how was this talk today? People being nice may say, 7 out of 10. But if I said, you can't say that with anything, you've got to choose either 8 or a 6, the 80% or 60%. It'll probably give you a better indication of which way you're traveling. Are you on the way to replenishing your battery, or is it slowly getting drained? Are you in that stage of exceptional well-being and clarity, or are you actually just moving towards that getting by stage where there's, the mental fog or indecision starting to creep in, and you sort of, inability, you might be propping yourself up on a few of the things, like coffee, caffeine, or whatever, and just bouncing by paycheck to paycheck, the plan's sort of out the window. And then as we move down, I guess the doubt, pain, worry, the motivation going, that's something to really have a look at. And then as you get down below that 40%, that's when you actually, these things have been sitting below level of, I guess, signs and symptoms very much under the radar. I guess the disease processes, once you get below, start to actually show up, and then your ability to self-manage is sort of gone once you're getting down to that level when you're actually relying on other people to help you, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because you need to just treat them, but we're trying to just catch it earlier. And like I say, a lot of people are now probably just in that probably getting by phase because they've just pushed and pushed and pushed. 38% of us have pushed to that level where now we're needing probably just to have a little bit of a break and go, what's needed to recharge. And I guess for the personal side, we notice that earlier than we do with the business side, because I guess as a business or even a family unit, as a collective bunch of organisms, and so we help each other through, like there's that, there's that team atmosphere, and the battery is bigger and stronger. So it might take a little bit longer with the business, 3, 6, 9 months, depending on where you're at, for some of these markers or symptoms to come through. But if you're working on yourselves, your business is going to travel so much better through this period. So there's a list on each side of the things that drain and charge your battery. Now, I won't go through each one, and it's definitely not an exhaustive list, but I might just pick a couple of the common ones that I guess I see anyway, and personally I experience. So right now, that overwork, people are exhausted, that 38% of people, and I'm seeing a lot of people that have been playing catch up now starting to just hit a wall. So again, it's a great time before you are wiped out and have to take a few days out of work and actually lose that productivity, just to start to dial things back in and just check in where you're sort of getting those wobbles. And that, for me, I always see too, if I'm losing that desire to exercise or exercise at home, then that's a big sort of marker as well of what's sort of happening. And then also too, if the water, and I'll get onto the importance of water later on, but if that's starting to go and the sort of the caffeine sugar cycle starting to kick in, that 3 o'clock coffee, that's definitely a warning sign for me and for many people. It's if they're reaching and they're propping themselves up, which, is fine as long as we're aware of it and we've got a plan of how we nurse ourselves back to full energy and vitality. Financial stress is definitely a concern for many through this period with uncertainty. And I guess it's all about just having the plan. And if you don't feel in control, having the plan is the most important thing. It doesn't matter where you are, and it's not about judging where you are at now, because it's more the awareness is the gift or the beauty here. And then you can make a plan either on your own or with, friends, family, or, your advisors that you lean on, your trusted advisors, to actually get you to full vitality and work through this and give yourself the best chance possible by, again, influencing your own personal energy. And then the best one of all is sleep. And most people, this has probably been one that's probably been run a little bit skinny. And, moving into winter, I was sort of myself up for most of the night with a sick 3-year-old with a bit of croup. So that sleep, though, being aware, 7 to 8 hours is sort of the sweet spot, and it's our chief energy driver, and it's free. It's free. So have a check in with how you sleep. Again, quality and quantity is going. And on the other side, I mean, all these drainers flip into potentially gainers when you get them right. But I'd just say one point on the gainers, that the self-love, a little bit of woo-woo, but I mean it more in terms of you can't give what you don't have. And so if your energy isn't right, and if energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transferred, what energy have you got to give to your work if you don't have it yourself? And then also with your business, then will you be essentially draining some energy from your business if you don't have your own business sorted? So it's not a selfish act as CEO, Chief Energy Officer, to look after yourself. It's actually a selfless act, because then you can give more to your business, to your colleagues, to get through this period. Now your business has also got a battery, and amazingly, a lot of the symptoms, when you model them up, are very, very similar to how they're going as the charge goes. So again, I'd encourage you to have a good read of this, get the slides, and then rate yourself on how you're going, not allowing yourself to have that 7 or 70% sort of charge. You have to be anywhere else on the battery. It doesn't matter where. You could be the 100%, which cheapest we'd love to be. 90% I feel is for everyone through this period is a good goal to have, to just that keeping your team on board, engaged, and delighting your clients in whatever way you can through this period, whether it is changing your payment terms to suit them, offering little discounts, remembering that cash is your chief source of energy. So doing those little things to delight them, and then also looking after the team through that period, communication. And then you'll notice too, the different things, but are you falling down into 70% average performance? And that's not a bad word, that's just industry. But the concern for me is that what you can't see is that you're not quite able to evolve, which is so important in this period. You're stuck in that busy trap, and there's just that little bit of disquiet or unrest. Gets a little bit noticeable as you move down to the getting by at 60%. You might have some cash flow issues. You might have just that little bit of team and client churn that you can't quite get on top of. Not enough to really slow you down, but it just, makes working a bit harder and does drain your battery. And then you get the wobbles. And like I said, as you move below that 50%, that's when your ability to self-manage really goes. Above, 50% and above, everyone should be able to look at their business and decide what's most important and work on that and self-manage. When you get below, and if you're really concerned, you probably do need to lean on others. And like I say, once that disease kicks in, again, it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's not there to judge. It's more the awareness and taking the plan in action. Say if it was personal and you had the disease, you'd want to downsize or cut out or get rid of whatever that is, so you can then move back to self-management as quickly as possible. So again, on the business side, I'd just say really important is the organization structure and roles, making sure it's appropriate for the environment you're in. The educating the team as well, encouraging them to manage their energy, because overall it's the organism feeds into the one business battery. Communication, team rhythms, just making sure they're effective, not overburdensome. We don't want them to drain people's personal batteries, but just effective communication so everyone's on board and driving in the same direction. And I've listened to a couple of the previous webinars from TSB and Velocity. I mean, there's lots of great stuff out there as well on how to do this business strategy stuff or communication. And so go back through those previous webinars that Venture Taranaki's put on, but just choose one or two things. And then cash flow, it's, like I say, your chief energy source for your business through this period. So make sure you're working on ways to encourage cash in and looking at what cash is going out, what energy is going out of your business. And then on the flip side, in this new environment, we've got the empowered team, the flexible work environment, things that we just need to look at and just be checking in. So again, just look at it, and I encourage you to just honest assessment without judgment, just more think of it as the gift of awareness to then make a plan to ensure the best possible, most resilient business through this period. And then here you'll see how the two batteries stack up side by side, and really, like I say, do a self-audit, don't allow the 70%, and just see where you are and make your plan on what are the chief drainers and gainers that you just want to start to tackle. And just be careful, because once you get down to that 40%, most of us will probably be around the 60%, which is a good place to be and then very manageable. But once you get down below, the risk of being able to self-manage yourself or your business and losing control is what none of us want. So again, it's a great time for us to check in as we're into this next phase of the COVID recovery. So that was the high level sort of meta sort of concept, which I hope you're all starting to get your head around, how energy management will be our number one sort of friend through this period versus time management. And I'll offer some solutions in a second. But like I say, from here, really it's about self-evaluating the 4 energy buckets and your personal and business biobatteries, and just seeing where the opportunities lie to, like say, normally it's easy to get rid of a drainer quickly. You can knock that on the head, but also say, what do we want to work on? And go for the quick wins first. It's a matter of just test, implement, retest, see how you're getting, if the results are coming through, if that energy is flowing through yourself and your business, but keep it simple. Now, I've just put in a couple of ideas for quick wins in each bucket. So what we've got, and like I say, physical is probably the most easiest place to start with in terms of your energy production and the biggest influence on your energy. But again, like, to make it even more simple, like where I'd begin, every single client I say is, what's your relationship with your water? And the reason why with water is the best conductor of energy there is. So with that, work on addressing your water, and I'd be surprised within a couple of days if you're not noticing an immediate impact on your energy levels throughout the day into the evening, and how you're going and your ability to get work done, and also about to flush that inflammation out of the body. So with that, the rule for what is an appropriate quantity of water to use is your body weight in kilos times 0.033 litres a day. So for an 85 kilo dude, that's about 2.8 litres a day of water. And what I'd say too, it's the quality that's, like anything, the quality is just as important as the quantity. So if you can get filtered water, just a simple home filter or a filter at work, but also to make sure your body's absorbing and conducting that water, remineralize it. Just get a little bit of sea salt. Coloured stuff's better. So, a little bit of the pink Himalayan salt, or your Celtic sea salt, which is, the green stuff. Just a little pinch of that, just enough to just not override the taste of the water, but just a little subtle taste. And that's going to remineralize the water, so that's absolutely getting absorbed at a cellular level, not just getting flushed down the river. So water is probably the easiest place to start if I was to give a tip or recommendation for everyone. Look at your water intake, quality and quantity. Second one for physical, breath, and we call that buying energy for free. So whether it's at the start of the day, before you set, before you get into the chaos of the day, 5 minutes of either box breathing, which is just a nice steady rhythm of, imagine a box, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then at the bottom of the exhale, you hold that for 4 seconds. So it's making a nice controlled breathing box. And that just flips you back in from a sympathetic or the flight and flight into a parasympathetic state of being. Or the breathing pattern that I find even more effective is the 4-6-8 breath. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you'll hold that breath for 6 seconds. So a good belly breath in for 4, hold that breath for 6 seconds, and then it's just a really nice slow exhale for 8 seconds. And that is guaranteed to put you, if you do, even 5 of those breaths, that will put you back into the parasympathetic state of being, the nice relaxed state of mind, to then help with all your other energy buckets. So whether you want to schedule that in a day, whether you know what your 3 p.m. coffee is for you, wherever that moment is, maybe you want to schedule it for that time and just go, can I replace that, and just buy some free energy through some good breath work. Mental, for focus and the focus of your energy, I just say keep it really simple. Set your priority for the day, and I'd use the word singular, because again, we're trying to avoid this overwhelm or complexity through this period. So I used to set my most important things, and I'd set 3 to 5 things each day, and then I came to realize I wouldn't get through them. And how can you have more than one thing that's the most important thing? So try just go with singular, just attack one thing each day. And then also the concept of ultradian cycles. If you can calendar block time as well, trying to at least try and get a couple of these blocks in each week where you work on what that important thing is, and set aside, it's the concept of a 90-minute long cycle broken up into 3 sprints. So you'll set a timer, a countdown timer for 25 minutes. Alarm will go off at the end of that, and that's where you chunk down 3 bits of that 90 minutes. Have a little 5-minute break. You could do a little bit of breath work, get a drink of water, just stare out the window, do something, but you disconnect, and then you go back in for another 25 minutes. You do that 3 times, and you'll notice that I guarantee you in that 90 minutes, you'll probably get through more strategic, important work than you would have in the last month. It's about carving out that time and then just using a system that will work for your productivity. Emotional quality. Again, it's just checking in with yourself. And again, you might need to schedule this to start with, or just when you're starting to feel yourself get overwhelmed and you're starting to go to your default patterns of maybe it's the coffee, maybe it's the sugary snack. Just really check in and ask yourself, what am I actually needing right now? Is it just to have a breath, have a break, glass of water? Is there something I need to do? Is there a phone call that I've just been putting off or needing to do? Customer I need to call? And I've got the scale below for you to use as well of whereabouts are we, and that might also recommend what's needed in that as a response from us. The flow, creative, open and receptive, all positive states of being, balance. But then it's just noticing when that balance flips into maybe the slightly anxious, overwhelmed is the next level. You start to become closed off, and then chaos. Well, we don't want you to get to there, so we're just trying to hit when you get to that level of anxiety, and then just going, is another coffee, and I'm as guilty as this as anyone, is another coffee actually going to help get more done, or is it just going to push us further to that overwhelmed status? Whereas possibly a little bit of, bringing us back the other way, a bit of breath, a bit of water, just to cool the system down might be the way to do it. Or it might just be a little bit of courage to just do that task that we're just putting off, that we know will feel so much better mentally and emotionally once we've done that. And then creative inspiration. And this is in relation to business and getting things that will help your business. So it's more when you're sitting down to do your creative work in your business, then you might have carved out some time to look at what you need to do strategically, where you need to move the business. Often we're kicked into such a left brain analytical sort of mode of just doing and operating, that really we need to get that right brain creative side back on stage. And that's where it's the yogic breathing, where basically you're breathing in, you close off one nostril, you breathe up through one, then you close off the other one and you breathe out, and then breathe in one side, breathe out the other, breathe in, breathe out. And you're just kicking the breath to each side of the brain, and that's just realigning, rebalancing the brain out, bringing both hemispheres back online so that you can then be as creative as possible, because there's nothing worse than carving out that time and just being blocked, that feeling of blocked and frustration when you have carved out that time. So if you just search up alternative nostril breathing, then you'll see that. And then just quickly, I just urge you, this is how to get results. Just one simple mindset. You made the decision to be here. It's about just choosing a simple action, gaining some accountability, whether you write it down, whether you in the weekend share it with your partner or your business partner, and you say what you're going to work on, the 1 or 2 things, and that formula, those compound to give you the results that you're looking for, rebuilding your biobattery and getting the business results, which is ultimately what we want. So just quickly, as I sort of start to wrap up, next steps, I'll be doing a round 2. There was lots that I wanted to put into this stage because this has been more a massive dump of awareness. I'd like to dive into actually the fundamentals of how to continue to build up your energy and your batteries. So I'll be doing another webinar on the 6 lifestyle factors that have the most influence on your energy buckets. So if you email me below, I'll be able to add you to that database and make sure you get into that webinar and any other content that goes out. And I just urge you to review the presentation and just choose something to start on that influence the batteries. So Sean, I think just on time for a couple of questions. If there are any, please guys, please ask, and also hit me up outside of this if you've got anything as well that you want to discuss from the webinar or questions you'd like to ask as well. You've got my contact details as well.
Great, thanks for that, Tom, and you stayed on time as well.
Oh, I had to motor. Jeepers, take a breath now. Have a sip of water.
Yeah, have a sip of water. Okay, we've got 5 or 6 questions in here. So just before we jump into the questions, can you explain more about how you landed on the name Woke Traders?
Yes. It was sort of a name that made me a little bit nervous and excited. The word woke is definitely a loaded word. But to me, the concept is woke traders. It's time to actually wake up. A lot of us seem asleep at the wheel, sort of lost our sense of charge or direction. And it's about waking up basically and going, what is your dream and how do you get after it? And the traders side is while we work through business owners and businesses to actually influence the personal side. Your business is there to serve you, not the other way around. So it's about those woke traders that want to get after their dreams and influence them, have a great business that's going to support them. So that's with the name and the desire to sort of have this holistic business coaching is, I guess, the genre that is merging self with business rather than saying trying to separate them, build this wall. It doesn't exist. We are integrated with our business, especially in this level of business that we have, unless you're a true, genuine corporate. And so it's integrated. So you need your health to drive your wealth and vice versa. So it's coaching the individual and the business.
Okay, great. Now we jump into these questions. I struggle in the winter with my energy levels. Any tips?
Yeah, plenty. But the first one is just to realize that you are human and we do have the seasons. And so it's just honoring those seasons when the days are shorter. We have this natural call to want to slow down in the evenings, sleep more, eat those nice, warm, comforting meals. And maybe the types of exercise we do as well changes, I feel a natural call to just walk more, maybe just a little bit more of just that strength based rather than anything crazy out there, anything too intensive. So that's the first thing. So just honor that and that natural human rhythm of having the seasons instead of just trying to push through and just go, first work with that. But like I say, allow yourself to shift to what is appropriate through this time too. Like you'll notice like in your body, you might be craving those healthier or the heartier, nourishing meals, a little bit more broths or soups or that sort of thing from a food and nutrition point of view. It'll switch to those things that really nourish you. And then also too, just the exercise. It might just be, it's a time for just reflection almost. So a lot of just walking and just taking it a little bit slower, not just pushing through and, as much as we're trying to, like say, managing time, not energy, we're trying to override that natural rhythm. So it's just honoring, maybe just focus on the energy elements through that period rather than just, trying to smash as much out as we used to through summer when we've got more time, daylight hours to work with. So I'd just go to the more restorative thing. It's a more restorative, reflective phase through winter. So just again, this is a great thing for that, to check in what's draining, what's giving you energy through that time, and just listen to your body. So I guess it's hopefully some tips through there. But it is a period where we just take things a little bit easier really before we spring back into gear, and at least in the physical sense.
Fantastic. My team need extra support right now. Where do I start to help with energy?
For the team, well, it's going back to that business battery, and just, I guess, communication is the number one thing. I'd say first though, work on your own energy. So you got to get that right to then lead them and give that to them. But in your business, it would be knowing what your strategy or your plan is. Like say, even if it's a 3-6 month strategy at this stage, communicating and sharing and just making sure you're just checking in with your team. That regular communication channel is just absolutely essential through this time. And what that means in your business, you'll know better than us, but also too, if you're feeling that little bit overwhelmed, it's leaning in on those that are your trusted advisors and bring them into, whether it's your accountant, your lawyer, your mate who's bloody good at this sort of stuff. So just make sure you have your team around you to make sure that you're going well. But you definitely influence yourself first, and then you'll sort of know what to do with the business too.
Okay. Any tips on responding to adversity? For example, poor sales. This can be a massive energy drainer.
Yeah, definitely. And it's tough not to take that personally and go into judgment, self-analysis, etc., and projecting that onto yourself. And that's where the two are sort of really related. Your business affects the personal and your confidence and your energy. But I guess anything is just like throughout this, what I've said in the presentation too, is that all of these signs and symptoms, if we just treat them as giving us at least a chance to have awareness, and whether we accept that or not, that's up to us with, what's actually happening. But then we can chart the plan of attack. So if it's, going back to that customer and sales focus, etc., you've really just got to see what you can gain from it. Once you get into that state where you consider it, you get yourself balanced and just go, well, what's the feedback that we're getting? And then what can we do as an alternate plan to try and correct that? And like I say, there's probably many good sales marketing presentations to probably go back through in the back catalogue here from Venture Taranaki to go through that. But like I say, your professional advisors to dig into, like we have, the 7 ways to grow your business, the different ways of what the issue is, where to target the sales, 5 ways to increase the sales or change the product mix, and 2 ways to reduce your costs. So you just got to sit with that non-judgmentally, to try not to take it personally and just go, what's that feedback telling us? And then how do we chart a plan to sort of change that path of action? And then, like you say, and then lean on the free resources from Venture Taranaki. There's also great support that they've got from experts in those areas, especially with the sales, marketing, client interaction. Lean on that support and help, and that'll give you the best chance of maximizing your business outcomes.
Great. How do we lift the energy and positivity of our clients who vary quite a bit?
Yeah, because like I say, I run my other business, run a accountancy practice, and you're right, that can vary massively. And like I say, we're connected, and that's got an ability to affect your energy as a business. So I think going back to that business battery, and again, in this time, we might not have the luxury of choice of all who our customers are we interact, but you've really got to know what your ideal customer is to start with, and go, who are the ones that we can delight and that we actually enjoy working with. As rough as that sounds, or tough, but it's like, it's got to be that energy exchange. It's got to be positive from both parties. So once you're clear on that, and that's not to say that you'll go and remove all these clients, but it's more just as a filtering, selecting process going forward. And then, you just got to check in with those clients as well and just see if there's ways that, if there is, trying to put yourself in their shoes, if they're worried, concerned, if there's things that you can do to help them. There may not be, but they might also really appreciate that as understanding your customer and doing the extra thing, having the energy through this stage to do the extra thing that'll really make the difference for a long-term customer. But honestly, it's as we move through this and that long-term plan, it's really knowing who your ideal customer is and setting up your business so that it is a joy. And because ultimately that will then go from your client to your business to you over time, and you don't want that flow. So it's really you saying what you want to your business to then the clients you interact. But it's a process to get there. It takes time. And like we say, in this market, we're not really wanting to, churn clients, but it might be a chance to actually understand and really help your clients and go to a deeper level. May not be too, not every client is going to be the perfect sandbox client, but working towards that. Yeah.
And we've just got time for one more question. And you spoke a lot about sleep and getting the right amount. How do we evaluate that? Is there any apps out there that you suggest?
Yeah, the best thing that I've found, I mean, smartwatches give you good data. There's a ring called the Aura ring. If you're wanting to actually, I'm not one to go too much into tech or biohacking, that sort of data, but it tracks all your sleep patterns, rhythms, your heart rate variability, quality and quantity, and the different stages of sleep. So that's OURA. That might be something to look at if it's a real issue for you and concern. Otherwise, it's just when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? It's a subjective test. Am I feeling charged, energized, or am I reaching for that coffee first thing to literally prop me up and get me going? And just a couple of tips on sleep too. Your room should be cool, and it should be pitch dark, like pitch dark, block out curtains, dark, and really should be no real technology in the room. And if it's, like I say, if it's a real concern as well, turn your Wi-Fi router off at night as well, because it might be the electromagnetic stress as well influencing you again at that sub-symptomatic level. We can't see it, but it can be really influencing your sleep. So every night we'll do the same: dark, blacked out. Technology, try and remove that an hour before bed, blacked out room, and kill your Wi-Fi, and that might just help with your sleep quality improving. And just assess that each morning, give yourself a rating out of 10, no sevens allowed, and then just see how that improves. And then if you need to take that to another level, look at your Aura ring, look at some magnesium at night before sleep, etc., just to help.
Great, thank you so much for that, Tom. That was really good insight, and it's really great that you're keen to do another webinar. So we'll make sure to keep our audience informed of when that's going to be. So I'll email out the recording of this as well as all the slides. We have a bunch more webinars coming up, being released in the next 2 weeks, so stay tuned for all of those. Thanks again for everyone joining, and have a great Friday.
Cool. Cheers, Sean, and thanks everyone. Enjoy your weekends.
See you guys.
Bye.